Goodness without power is a trap, and Machiavelli warned us centuries ago. The world doesn't reward kindness, it exploits it. It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both. Goodness without strategy invites exploitation and betrayal. This is where we must begin. Too often we confuse being good with being safe, as though kindness builds a shield around us. But the world is not a place that rewards goodness blindly. When goodness is offered without thought, without caution, without limits, it becomes an open invitation for others to take more than they should. It is like leaving your door unlocked in a city of thieves and hoping they will respect you for trusting them. Some might, but eventually someone will walk through that open door and take everything you have. People mistake selflessness for sainthood, believing that giving without measure will earn them loyalty. But Machiavelli saw the truth. The more you give, the more people expect, and the more they expect, the less they value you. Generosity is not endless. Patience is not infinite. If you do not place boundaries around your goodness, you will find yourself empty, drained of time, energy, resources, while the very people you tried to help move on without a second thought. Think of the worker who stays late every night, always saying yes to extra tasks, always covering for others. At first, they are praised for their dedication, but slowly, their effort becomes the new expectation. Their kindness is no longer a gift, but a standard. And when the day comes that they are too exhausted to continue, no one thanks them. They ask, "What's wrong with you?" Their goodness, instead of earning them respect, becomes the very rope by which they are bound. This is the trap of unguarded virtue. When you do not pair goodness with strategy, you create a system where people can exploit you without consequence. Betrayal becomes easy, because you have given them everything for free. They pay no price for taking from you, no price for abandoning you, no price for breaking the trust you so freely offered. Machiavelli understood this better than anyone. He wrote that a ruler who is too merciful invites chaos, because subjects who fear no punishment will eventually take advantage of that ruler's mercy. The same is true for ordinary life. If you forgive endlessly, people stop fearing the loss of your forgiveness. If you help endlessly, people stop fearing the loss of your help. You become invisible in the very relationships you try to nurture. This does not mean you must become cruel, but it does mean you must become calculating. Goodness must be deliberate, not automatic. When you choose to be good, it must be because you have decided it serves a purpose, whether that purpose is building loyalty, maintaining peace, or strengthening alliances. In this way, your goodness becomes a tool of power, not a weapon turned against you. Unchecked goodness is a promise to the world that you will not fight back. It is an advertisement that says, "Take what you want, I will endure." And the world is full of taker, people who are ruthless, ambitious, desperate, or simply careless, will step over the kind-hearted, if doing so gets them closer to what they want. It is not that they are evil, it is that they are human. Machiavelli never hated humanity, he simply saw it clearly. He understood that people act in their self-interest, and those who fail to protect themselves are the easiest to harm. Strategic goodness, however, changes the equation. It makes others think twice. It ensures that your kindness does not cost you respect, that your patience does not make you a victim, that your generosity does not leave you powerless. Goodness with strategy becomes a choice that elevates you, not a habit that weakens you. So when we say that goodness without strategy invites exploitation and betrayal, what we mean is this: goodness must have teeth. It must have a boundary, a warning line that others know not to cross. Otherwise, your goodness will not save you, it will sacrifice you. Power respects strength, not kindness. This is one of the hardest truths to accept, because we are taught from childhood that kindness wins hearts, and winning hearts is what brings influence. But power is not a sentimental force. It does not bend for kindness, it bends for strength. People may appreciate kindness, but they obey strength. They may applaud generosity, but they follow those they cannot ignore. Strength, whether it is physical, mental, emotional, or political, commands attention in a way kindness never can. Kindness is soft. Strength is undeniable. This is why Machiavelli argued that a ruler who relies on goodwill alone will eventually be devoured by those who see an opportunity to rise at his expense. When you are only kind, people often mistake your gentleness for weakness. They assume you will tolerate disrespect, that you will not retaliate if wronged, that they can test your limits without consequence. This is why so many good-hearted people find themselves in situations where they are taken advantage of. Their kindness is not met with gratitude, but with entitlement. They give, and give, and give, and still, people demand more. Strength changes that. Strength signals to the world that while you may be capable of kindness, you are not dependent on it to win approval. Your value does not depend on their comfort, their praise, or their acceptance. Strength makes kindness meaningful. If you are kind when you have no choice, your kindness is merely submission. But if you are kind when you have the power to be ruthless, your kindness becomes a sign of character, something that commands respect instead of pity. This is why powerful people are admired for their generosity more than ordinary people, because generosity from a position of strength feels rare, intentional, and valuable. It is not seen as an obligation, but as a gift. Machiavelli understood that power is rarely maintained by those who merely wish to be liked. Love can vanish the moment it becomes inconvenient, but respect, born of strength, endure. A ruler, a leader, or even an individual in daily life cannot afford to be seen as powerless, because the powerless have no bargaining position. They are at the mercy of those who are stronger. In any hierarchy, whether in politics, business, or personal relationships, those who command strength are the ones whose voices are heard first and whose interests are considered most seriously. Kindness, without strength, makes you replaceable. People will take your help as long as it is free, but they will leave you behind the moment someone stronger offers them something better. This is why history remembers those who asserted their will, not merely those who were good-hearted. Alexander the Great was generous to his soldiers, but he was also ruthless with those who defied him. His men followed him, not only because he rewarded them, but because they feared what it would mean to stand against him. Strength does not require cruelty, it requires consequence. In life, strength can take many forms. It can be the quiet resolve to walk away from those who disrespect you. It can be the ability to say no when everyone expects you to say yes. It can be the mental fortitude to remain calm when provoked, refusing to give your enemies the reaction they want. Strength can be financial independence, which frees you from manipulation, or the courage to stand alone when the crowd moves against you. Whatever form it takes, strength is the language power understands. Kindness, on its own, does not deter predators. The world is not made only of gentle souls, it is also filled with opportunists who measure what they can get away with. If you cannot enforce boundaries, your kindness becomes bait. Strength turns those boundaries into war. It makes clear that while you may choose to forgive, to give, or to show mercy, these things are privileges, not entitlements. People who know you are strong respect your kindness because they know it could be withheld, and that is precisely why it has value. Power, by its nature, is a contest. It is a constant struggle to maintain position, to guard influence, to avoid being overrun. Those who rely solely on kindness are unarmed in this struggle. They are like a soldier who goes to war, carrying flowers instead of a sword. Strength does not mean hostility, it means readiness. It means you are capable of defending what is yours and protecting what you care about. Power respects those who are ready, those who can endure, those who cannot be easily broken. There is a reason the most respected leaders in history were not simply loved, but feared, because fear is a form of respect, that does not depend on affection. People may love you today and hate you tomorrow, but if they fear the consequences of betraying you, they will think twice before acting against you. Strength creates those consequences. It is the invisible force that keeps chaos at bay. So, if power respects strength and not kindness, the lesson is not to abandon kindness, but to build strength. First, become someone who cannot be ignored, someone whose presence commands attention, someone whose silence is unsettling. Then, and only then, let kindness flow from that position of power. This way, your kindness becomes a choice that elevates you and protects you, not a weakness that others exploit. Perception of morality is more valuable than morality itself. This truth is sharp, unsettling, and yet undeniable. The world does not see what is in your heart, it only sees what you project. You can be deeply moral, honest, and just, but if people do not perceive you as such, your true virtue remains hidden, and they will treat you according to what they think you are, not what you really are. This is the lesson Machiavelli stressed when he wrote that a ruler must appear virtuous, even if he is not, for perception governs trust, loyalty, and reputation, the very things that power depends on. Morality, in its pure form, is private. Perception of morality is public, and in the public sphere, perception is what matters most. Think of history's great leaders. Many of them were ruthless, behind the scenes, making choices that cost lives, suppressing opponents, eliminating threats before they could grow. Yet, in public, they cultivated an image of justice, fairness, and dignity. This was not hypocrisy. This was survival. They knew that people want to believe their leaders are righteous, that they are guided by principles higher than personal ambition. The appearance of morality stabilizes authority because it makes people feel safe under it. True morality may guide a man's conscience, but it does not protect him from rebellion or betrayal. The perception of morality, however, convinces others that he is worth following. You can see this principle at work even in ordinary life. A person may be genuinely good, but if they appear unreliable, dishonest, or selfish, people will treat them with suspicion and distance. Another person might have a darker, more self-serving nature, but if they present themselves as trustworthy, compassionate, and honorable, they will be embraced and even defended by those around them. This is the uncomfortable truth. The story people tell about you matters more than the truth about you. If you want to wield influence, you cannot simply be moral, you must be seen as moral. This is why public figures work so hard to control their image. They know that once their reputation is stained, even if they are innocent, the damage is almost impossible to undo. People believe what they see, and perception becomes reality. If people believe you are dishonest, your words will be doubted. If they believe you are just, your decisions will be accepted, even when they are harsh. Machiavelli argued that a ruler should learn not to be good, but to appear good when necessary, because that appearance grants him the freedom to act decisively, without losing the people's support. There is a danger in neglecting this principle. Some people pride themselves on being real, on saying and doing exactly what they feel regardless of how it is perceived. They may think this is integrity, and in one sense it is, but it also leaves them exposed. They may alienate allies, make enemies unnecessarily, and destroy their own credibility. Integrity, without awareness of perception, is like shouting the truth into a storm. No one can hear it, and all they see is a person screaming against the wind. Strategic people understand that morality must be balanced with theater. You must not only do what is right, but present it in a way that others can recognize and respect. Perception of morality is also a weapon. It can be used to disarm opponents without a fight. If people see you as just, fair, and benevolent, it is much harder for your enemies to turn others against you without appearing unjust themselves. Your image becomes a shield that protects you, making it risky for others to challenge you publicly. On the other hand, if you have the purest heart, but are perceived as corrupt or cruel, No amount of inner goodness will save you from condemnation. This is why Machiavelli placed so much emphasis on appearances. He understood that human beings are not purely rational. They are guided by symbols, gestures, and narratives. To maintain power and order, you must craft a story about yourself that people can believe it. This does not mean lying about who you are. It means understanding which parts of yourself to emphasize and which to conceal. You may have to hide your doubts, your fears, your harshest decisions, not because you are ashamed of them, but because revealing them would undermine the very stability you are trying to protect. True morality is a private compass, guiding you in silence. Perceived morality is a public currency, buying you trust and loyalty. If you have one without the other, you are vulnerable. If you are moral but not seen as moral, you will be doubted and opposed. If you are seen as moral, but lack true integrity, your power will eventually collapse under the weight of your lies. But until that collapse, perception will still shield you. The ideal, of course, is to have both, to be moral and to be perceived as moral. But if you must choose, Machiavelli suggests choosing perception, because it is the perception that keeps your power intact long enough to make your morality matter. This principle is not about faking goodness forever. It is about understanding that what people see is what they react to. They cannot read your mind or measure your intent. They respond to signals, to appearances, to the story you tell them with your actions and your demeanor. If you want to protect your influence, your family, your position, you must master the art of being seen as the person others can trust. The cost of ignoring perception is losing control of the narrative, and once you lose that, you lose the ability to guide events in your favor. Machiavelli's lesson is a warning and an opportunity. If you wish to survive and thrive, do not only strive to be good, strive to look good in the eyes of those who matter, because power does not live inside your soul. It lives in the minds of others, in what they believe about you, in the respect and fear they hold for your name. To rule, to lead, or simply to protect yourself in this world, perception of morality is not just valuable, it is indispensable. Survival sometimes demands being feared more than being loved. This is perhaps Machiavelli's most controversial teaching, the one that has made generations accuse him of cruelty. But it is not cruelty he is prescribing, it is clarity. Love is a beautiful thing, but it is fragile. It is tied to emotion, and emotion is fickle. People love you when it is easy to love you, when you give them what they want, when you align with their desires. But what happens when you must deny them, when you must make a hard decision that does not please them? Love evaporates. Love turns to resentment, to criticism, to rebellion. Fear, however, does not depend on emotion. Fear lasts even when admiration fades, and that is why it is a more reliable foundation for survival. Machiavelli never said it was better to be only feared. He said it was better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. Love is a luxury. Fear is a necessity. The person who is loved but not feared is at the mercy of others' moods, their shifting loyalties, their fleeting passions. The person who is feared may not be adored, but they are protected from betrayal because betrayal carries a price. Fear is not about sadism, it is about consequence. It is the unspoken knowledge that crossing you will hurt more than obeying you. Look at the leaders who survived the longest in history. They were not the softest, the most forgiving, or the most generous. They were the ones who inspired respect through the knowledge that they could not be trifled with. Their power endured because even their enemies hesitated before moving against them. Fear is a kind of armor. It keeps the reckless from trying to exploit you. It creates a boundary around you, a zone of caution that prevents chaos from spilling into your life. Being loved feels good. It gives you warmth. It gives you approval, but it does not give you protection. People who love you may still betray you if it becomes more convenient for them. They may still turn on you if someone else offers them more. or if staying loyal to you costs them too much. Fear, on the other hand, makes betrayal costly. It forces a calculation in the mind of anyone who would harm you. Is it worth the price? Most will decide it is not. This is why Machiavelli argued that fear creates stability. It locks loyalty in place, not by affection, but by deterrence. Fear is also a tool of clarity. When people fear you, you do not have to guess where they stand. They show you their true intentions, because they know there is no room to play games. Love can breed dishonesty, because people who love you may flatter you, may hide their resentment, may pretend to be loyal even when they are not. Fear strips away that. Those who stay despite fear are usually the ones who truly respect your authority. This principle applies beyond politics and kingdoms. It applies to everyday life. If you are always trying to be liked, you will find yourself saying yes when you should say no, tolerating disrespect you should confront, giving chances to those who do not deserve them. You will become soft clay in the hands of others, shaped by their expectations, instead of standing firm in your own. But if you are willing to be feared, if you are willing to let others think you are harsh when necessary, you carve out a space where your rules are respected. People may not like you in that moment, but they will think twice before crossing you, and in time, that caution may turn into respect. This is the paradox. Machiavelli understood. Fear can ultimately create a deeper form of loyalty than. When people know there are consequences for disobedience, they begin to take your words seriously. They begin to see you not just as someone to like but as someone to follow. Love might win their hearts, but fear wins their action. And in a world where action determines survival, fear is often the stronger ally. Of course, fear must be used carefully. Machiavelli warned that a ruler must avoid being hated. Hatred breeds rebellion, and rebellion is more dangerous than indifference. The goal is not to terrify people until they despise you. The goal is to be firm enough that you are respected, that your authority is not questioned without thought. Fear should be measured, controlled, deliberate. Too much fear becomes tyranny, and tyranny invites revenge. The art is to be just fearsome enough that no one dares to test you, while still allowing room for loyalty and admiration to grow. Survival demands that you sometimes choose strength over warmth, respect over affection, fear over love. This is not because love is worthless, but because it is not enough on its own. Love can be withdrawn at the worst moment, leaving you exposed. Fear, properly managed, will keep you standing even when love has gone cold. It is not about becoming cruel. It is about becoming untouchable. When others know that harming you, betraying you, or opposing you comes with pain, they will think twice. That pause, that moment of hesitation, is often the difference between survival and destruction. So, when Machiavelli tells us that it is safer to be feared than loved, he is not condemning love, but reminding us that survival is the first priority. You can only afford to be loved if you are secure enough to endure the moments when that love falters. Until then, let fear do the work. Love cannot. Let it hold the walls in place. Let it keep the wolves at bay. Let it give you the breathing room to choose when and how to show mercy. For in the end, survival is not given to those who are adored, but to those who cannot be easily undone. In the end, Machiavelli's warning is not a call to abandon goodness, love, or morality. It is a call to protect them. He shows us that goodness without strategy leads to exploitation, that kindness without strength invites disrespect, that morality without perception loses its power, and that love without perception loses its power, and that love without fear leaves us exposed. His message is not to become cold or ruthless for the sake of it, but to become dangerous enough that your goodness is a choice, not a weakness. The world does not reward purity, it rewards power, and only when you have secured your power can your goodness survive without being consumed. So build strength before mercy, guard your reputation,
as fiercely as your truth, and let fear defend what love cannot. Then, and only then, will your goodness have the weight to endure, your love have the freedom to last, and your morality have the authority to shape the world around you.